Today we will look at cases where we take a more complicated expression and raise that expression to a certain power. The general case is that of a product raised to a certain power, and we will look in a bit more detail at what happens when that product is itself a power. Once more, a reminder that a power is a short way of writing a repeated multiplication. When the thing we want to multiply is something else than just one number or letter, we need to put it between brackets. In this case, we raise the whole formula a times b to the power of 2. So that means we multiply it by itself. So this is ab times ab. And we know how to simplify this multiplication. A times b times a times b becomes a squared times b squared. ab raised to the power of 3 means ab times ab times ab. So this contains the factors a times a times a, or a cubed, times b times b times b, or b cubed. So the simplified version is a cubed times b cubed. And similarly for higher powers, ab raised to the power of 4 gives a to the power of 4 times b to the power of 4, and so on. So we see that when we raise a product to a certain power, it means we raise every factor in the product to that power. So this gives us a quick way to simplify products without writing out the whole multiplication. For example, pq raised to the power of 4. This is a product that consists of two factors, p and q, and we raise both of them to the exponent. So p to the power of 4 times q to the power of 4. The product can contain a number, the idea is the same, so the product here is 2 times x, and we raise both of them to the same power. We get 2 cubed times x cubed. However, 2 cubed is not the most simplified version of this number. After all, we can calculate it. 2 cubed is 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So this formula simplifies to 8x cubed. This product also has a number and a letter. The number is -1, so it means we raise -1 to the power of 5. When we multiply -1 by itself repeatedly, we either get -1 or +1. So let's see. Negative times negative is positive, so if the exponent is even, the result will be positive. In this case, however, the exponent is odd, so the result is -1. Then, of course, we also raise x to the power of 5. So the simplified formula is -1 times x to the power of 5, but in that case, we usually omit the 1. Now, a special case is when the product inside of the brackets is itself a power. So here we have x squared, and we raise that to the power of 3. That means x squared times x squared times x squared. This is a multiplication of powers, so we add the exponents. 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6, so this is x to the power of 6. If we increase this exponent to 4, that means we multiply by x squared another time, so the result will be x to the power of 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 8. So you also see that we just take 4 times 2 here. 4 times 2 is 8. So if our exponent becomes 5, then we have 5 factors that are all squares. So the resulting exponent is 5 times 2 is 10. And likewise for x squared to the power of 6, the new exponent is 6 times 2 is 12. So the short way here is just to take these two indices and multiply them. And this gives us another pattern. When we raise a power to a power, we multiply the indices. So let's see this pattern in action. X cubed to the power of 4. The result will be a power of x, and the exponent will be 3 times 4 is 12. This is a power of a product, so we will deal with both factors separately. The long way, of course, would be to write this out, to write out the entire multiplication. That's what this power means. We take x cubed y squared, and we keep multiplying it by itself. So this is one long multiplication, where in the end we multiply x by itself 12 times, and y by itself 8 times. Now the short way to get there is to look at the first factor, x cubed, and raise it to the power of 4. That becomes x to the power of 12. And then look at y squared and raise it to the power of 4, which becomes y to the power of 8. Another product raised to the power of 4, x is the same as x to the power of 1, so multiplying the indices here means doing 1 times 4 is 4, and y cubed to the power of 4 becomes y to the power of 12. Another power of a product, we raise to the power of 5, we raise 2 to the power of 5, and then x to the power of 4 to the power of 5 is x to the power of 20. And of course 2 to the power of 5 is a number, so we can evaluate this. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 32. So our simplified formula is 32 times x to the power of 20. And as we saw before, we can treat this negative sign as multiplication by the number -1. So this is -1 to the power of 4 times y cubed to the power of 4. -1 to the power of 4 is +1, and we don't write down the 1 in our simplified formula, so our simplified formula here is just y to the power of 12. So we've seen a lot of rules in the last 3 videos. Hopefully they all made sense, but in the next video you'll get an overview of all of them, and we will look at some more examples.